my fists bleed death. Welcome to your doom! Who will emerge a champion? Fight!
Akuma! Akuma is a terrifying offensive monster who excels in maintaining pressure and forcing his opponents out of their comfort zone, pushing them into corners with his fantastic buttons before mixing them up with an abundance of frame traps and combo routes. While he's a nightmare once he gets close, Akuma also sports a strong set of projectile options, allowing him to check his opponent's buttons and force them to play the neutral by his rules. And as a result, Akuma is one of the scariest characters in the game once he's able to land a hit confirm. As you know what they say, the best defense is a good offense, and this is the motto that many an Akuma player has lived by throughout the Street Fighter series. But as you might come to expect, Akuma is definitely not without his weaknesses. In the Street Fighter series, Akuma is often categorized by his very low health and low stun bar, and this weakness will be carried over into Smash through both a very low weight value and poor disadvantage state, making it difficult for Akuma to escape from combos and potentially lose stocks just as fast as he can take them away. While this might seem like a bit much, especially since most of his normals are fairly stubby, Akuma's high speed and huge damage output can more than make up for these downsides, as once he's given the opportunity, Akuma is more than capable of running away with fights thanks to both his incredible versatility and unparalleled Vortex game. As an Akuma player, it's your job to work around your weaknesses at your own pace, as you can either use his zoning abilities to control your opponent's options, or choose to go all out on the offensive, smothering your opponent with deadly combos that can kill most characters in only a few hit confirms. Whatever your desire, your flexibility as a character can make it happen. For you are Akuma, and you will show your opponents the meaning of pain. Akuma stands as a fairly tall humanoid character, with his height being just a bit taller than both Ryu and Ken. A master of Ensatsuken and supreme master of the fist, Akuma is a wandering warrior whose sole reason for living is to refine his fighting skills and continue to grow stronger, all while battling the strongest foes he can find in order to prove his strength. Introduced into the Street Fighter series in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, both as a hidden boss and a secret playable character, Akuma is a fighter who is often considered to be the balance between Ryu's focus on defensive play and Ken's constant offense, with his unique shuttle playstyle being a huge offset thanks to Akuma's huge focus on speed and damage. As a result, it's not surprising that Akuma has consistently been considered one of the Street Fighter series' most iconic characters. And while he's a fan favorite in his home franchise, his appearances in various crossover titles will only serve to make him even more popular amongst fighting game players. Whether he's fighting superheroes, duking it out with SNK's best, or single-handedly bending the world of Tekken to his will, there's never been a game where Akuma is not a serious contender. In fact, Akuma is one of the few characters in the Street Fighter series who has been a top-tier fighter in at least one iteration of each Street Fighter he's appeared in, and some of his appearances are so strong that he's banned from competitive play. Also, to add on to his already incredible resume, Akuma also has the honor of being the first Capcom character to appear as a crossover character in a fighting game, and, depending on who you ask, the first true fighting game crossover character, thanks to his secret appearance in X-Men Children of the Atom. In terms of balance, Akuma has always been categorized by his high speed and massive damage output, either on the defensive with his excellent fireball pressure, or, more notably, his ability to get in close and vortex his opponents to death. This offensive strength is almost always paired with very low health and one of the lowest stun limits, meaning he can potentially lose a fight just as fast as he can win one, and all of this is being carried over to Smash as well. Speaking of which, for his Smash appearance, Akuma is an aggressive pressure-oriented fighter who can control the flow of battle with his incredible level of versatility, with his major strengths lying in his ability to open up opponents in the neutral before moving in to close out stocks with some of the greatest burst damage in the game. And compared to both Ryu and Ken, Akuma's overall speed is a drastic step up from the stats sported by his contemporaries. As for his mobility options, Akuma will have access to 2 jumps, all while also being able to wall jump. As he is a character that hails from Street Fighter, it's not surprising that Akuma ends up sharing the many unique character aspects of both Ryu and Ken, with this including the ability to always face his opponent in one-on-one fights, his forward jump arcs being locked and preventing aerial drift, the ability to special cancel almost every single one of his regular attacks, an aspect that's far more terrifying on Akuma than either of his contemporaries, as well as the unique light-heavy input system that's designed to reflect the 6-button layout of Street Fighter. But as you might have expected, Akuma is bringing far more to the table than the other Shotos, and and this means that his character mechanic gets a fancy new name that reflects his intricacies as a character: Killer Intent. While it's mostly just a tongue-in-cheek reference to the English translation of Satsui no Hado, this mechanic is meant to accentuate the advances in Akuma's playstyle when he's compared to Ryu and Ken, and one place this is shown through is his collection of 8 special moves. Yes, you heard correctly, Akuma is in possession of 8 different special moves, and if you want to count follow-up options, that number goes up to 13, though I should note that 3 of them are either variations of existing attacks or aren't performed with the B button, and this is best seen through what might be Akuma's scariest movement option, Ashura Senku. This high-speed teleport is performed by inputting DP plus shield, allowing Akuma to rush across the stage at incredible speed, with this move becoming invulnerable after startup and phasing through any opponent in Akuma's path. This will allow him to effectively escape corners if his player can time the teleport correctly, but opponents are capable of punishing this move by either striking Akuma during startup or chasing him down during the teleport, as Akuma will enter a small recovery period once the teleport ends. Thankfully, Akuma's player can shorten this teleport by tap inputting the move, as doing so will shorten the range Akuma travels, but greatly speed up the recovery, whereas holding the shield button during the input will increase the range. Also, to add a bit of chaos, Ashura Senku is now usable in the air here in Smash, an ability that was once exclusive to Kage in Street Fighter V. This is also the only one of Akuma's specials that requires a specific input in order to perform, with all of his other special options sporting either regular Smash inputs or command inputs. So those of you unfamiliar with the fighting game characters in Smash might want to start practicing your DPs. This is but one example of how unique of a character Akuma is when compared to both Ryu and Ken, and this will become even more apparent once we get to talk about the rest of his specials. For now, however, I feel this is the perfect time to move on to Akuma's normals and begin discussing the abundance of hit confirms that your opponent is going to need to deal with should they choose to take on this demon in a fight. Much like the other fighting game characters in Smash, Akuma's normals are mainly comprised of the various physical attacks that he can perform in the Street Fighter series, and much like Ryu, and less like Ken, Akuma's attack options will be pulled from all over the Street Fighter series, making him a composite of various playable Akumas from throughout the years. From Super Turbo to Third Strike to even the Versus series, all of it is supported here in Akuma's design. Akuma's light neutral combo is a 3-hit punch combo, a simple 3-hit combination that's based on Akuma's 3 punch buttons from Third Strike. With this, Akuma will attack with a straight punch, all before following up with a palm thrust, then ending the combo with a second but far more powerful straight punch, with this pushing Akuma forward and launching any nearby foe with some notable force. Compared to the combos of both Ryu and Ken, Akuma's longer limbs provide him with a bit more range than his contemporaries, all while dealing more damage in the process. As for its purpose in a fight, this combo's best use is to cancel into specials, adding on to its already solid damage and making for a great way to set up the iconic Akuma combo. For those of you curious as to what that means, Akuma has had the ability to combo Tatsu into Shoryu in every game he's been a part of, so anytime I mention the Akuma combo going forward, just know that this is what I'm referring to. Akuma's heavy neutral combo is his standing roundhouse from Super Turbo and Third Strike, a wide-hitting roundhouse kick that will lower Akuma's hurtbox as he attacks. This move's tall hitbox will allow Akuma to quickly knock foes out of the air, all while immediately following up with one of his specials to add on to its damage. This aspect also works against opponents on the ground, but smaller characters might just be able to duck underneath this move, so be careful. Akuma's close heavy neutral combo is a standing fierce not only various Street Fighter titles, but also the Versus series, with this powerful uppercut punch working as a slightly more powerful variation of the same move used by Ryu and Ken. This attack can either work as a powerful launcher that can close out stocks at higher percents, or one of Akuma's highest damaging combo starters. And while uppercut to uppercut is a great way to confirm a kill, its damage scaling might make it not worth using until later on to your opponent's stock. Akuma's light forward tilt is his far-standing medium kick from Third Strike, a long-range toe tap that will knock foes away horizontally on hit. This move is fairly similar to the one used by Ryu, in that it's a fairly decent poke option that can be used to create some space and quickly check an opponent's buttons. But unlike Ryu's version, Akuma is capable of following up this attack with specials, making him more than capable of tech-chasing foes with fireballs or a Tatsu. Akuma's close slide forward tilt is his close-standing medium punch from Super Turbo, with this having Akuma perform a close-range hook punch that will deal moderate damage and decent shield pressure. Both Ryu and Ken are also capable of using this move, and like his contemporaries, Akuma's version of this attack will deal no knockback, but instead, pull the opponent towards Akuma as he attacks. This aspect of this move makes it one of Akuma's quickest and safest combo starters, especially if his opponent lets him get close enough to use this, as on top of other normals, Akuma is capable of immediately transitioning into any of his special moves off of this attack. Akuma's heavy forward tilt is Zugai Hatsatsu, a command normal that will have Akuma attack in front of himself with a multi-hitting chop. This move's main uses in the Street Fighter series are to catch foes off guard with its overhead properties, allowing Akuma to capitalize on mistakes made by his foes. But here in Smash, it instead sports some strong shield pressure, much like Ryu's collarbone breaker. This can allow Akuma to destroy defenses or tech chase foes close to the ledge, but its startup will keep it from being something that you can just throw out without conditioning your foe. Akuma's light up tilt is his close-standing light punch from both Super Turbo and Third Strike. This short-range elbow strike coming out fast and dealing damage just as quickly. This move's main strength is its ability to quickly transition into big damage via specials, all while being an excellent shield pressure option thanks to how fast it comes out. All in all, it's roughly on par with the same move used by Ryu and Ken, although Akuma's higher burst damage output makes it far more deadly in his hands. Akuma's heavy up tilt is his close-standing heavy punch from Third Strike, a powerful uppercut punch similar in appearance to his close-standing heavy neutral. This move sports fantastic startup speed and a solid amount of protection, as Akuma's upper body will become intangible during the first few active frames of this move, and on top of dealing great damage, this attack is also a fantastic way to close out stocks by following it up with Shoryu or Tatsu. Akuma's light down tilt is his crouching light kick from Super Turbo, a very fast low-hitting kick that is also used by Ryu and Ken. This insanely fast attack can combo into itself multiple times at low to mid percents. And next to the first hit of his neutral combo, this is Akuma's fastest hit confirm, and a great way to open up opponents locked in block stun, as there's very few out of shield options that can safely check this move. If that's not enough, forcing opponents out of block by shield stabbing them with Tatsu is very effective, especially if it combos into Shoryu for his trademark Akuma combo. Akuma's heavy down tilt is his crouching medium kick from Third Strike, a slower but further reaching low kick that will have Akuma knock out his opponent's balance. This move sports a couple of differences when compared to the same move used by Ryu and Ken, as Akuma will use its other leg to kick, and in turn, not sport as much range as the other Shotos. In exchange for this, Akuma's launch angle is far more favorable, allowing him to jump cancel into not only Shoryu or Tatsu, but also pursue foes with Demon Flip, and potentially set up a command grab for big damage. Akuma's dash attack is Seki Saiken, a command normal from Street Fighter V that will have Akuma leap forward through the air, all before coming down with a powerful vertical chop to launch foes away. While this move travels more vertically in Street Fighter, the Smash version of this attack will throw Akuma forward a great deal before attacking, allowing him to immediately jump foes and punish poor tech options. And if you can catch a foe at high enough percent, it might even confirm a kill. Just be sure you're careful with it, as this move's recovery speed is fairly slow compared to a lot of Akuma's other attacks. For his get-up attacks, Akuma will attack around himself with either a spinning kick or a pair of punch attacks, all while attacking with a straight punch for his ledge attack. For his smash attacks, Akuma will follow the same design philosophy as his fellow Shotos Ryu and Ken, in that his smash attacks are based off of not only some of his more powerful normals in the Street Fighter series, but also one of the brand new special moves that Akuma has received in Street Fighter 6. This makes him closer to Ryu than that of Ken, and if he manages to catch you with one of these attacks, it might just spell the end of your stock. You know, if his Tatsu and Shoryu doesn't get to you first. Akuma's forward smash is Adamant Flame, a very dangerous attack option that will have Akuma perform a rushing straight punch, and upon either reaching a set distance or making contact with the opponent, Akuma will quickly follow up with another pair of punches to launch foes away. A brand new attack introduced in Street Fighter 6, this move covers a solid amount of horizontal range thanks to the first punch, and if this first punch connects, the opponent is locked into the two following strikes, allowing Akuma's player to use this as a tech chasing option and a reliable kill confirm. Akuma's up smash is his crouching fearsome throughout the Street Fighter series, a very powerful uppercut punch, shrinking his hurt box and making him more difficult to attack from above. Compared to his other smash attack options, this move's main strength is its startup speed and high base damage, on top of sporting arm intangibility during the move's active frames, making it one of Akuma's strongest anti-airs and a safe way to close out stocks if you don't want to go for a lengthy combo. Just mind its fairly average range though, and its below average recovery speed can make it quite easy to punish on whiff. Finally, Akuma's down smash is his crouching roundhouse from Super Turbo, a powerful sweeping kick that will launch foes away on hit. In terms of stats, this move sports fantastic startup speed and great damage in exchange for average at best range and a fairly slow recovery speed, on top of only hitting on one side of Akuma, leaving his backside exposed if his opponent manages to get behind him. While that might make you think it's easy to punish, this move actually sports a saving grace that's not supported by Akuma's other smash attacks, and that's the fact that this move is special cancelable, allowing Akuma to follow up this attack with the Akuma combo for a quick yet sizable damage option at early percents. Following the same design philosophy as his grounded normals, Akuma's aerials are based on the various aerial attacks that he can perform in the Street Fighter series. These attacks sport great startup speed and can really pack a punch, on top of all 5 attacks sporting special cancel windows to immediately translate a stray hit into big damage, which in turn makes up for their stubby range and needing to dedicate yourself to the move in order to make the most of it. Akuma's neutral air is his jumping light kick from third strike. A very fast attack that will have Akuma attack below himself with a downward knee strike. This quick and simple strike is also used by Ryu and Ken, and like his fellow Shotos, Akuma can use his attack to set up grounded combos or condition his foes into blocking, making it one of his best combo starters and a great landing option. While its range leaves a lot to be desired, its speed and lingering hitbox more than make up for it. And since this move can also cancel on hit into any of Akuma's special options, it's an all-in-one attack that opponents will need to be prepared for should they want a chance to punish it. Akuma's forward air is his jumping heavy kick from third strike, a powerful straight kick that will come out fast and serve as a great combo starter, thanks in part to its heavy shield pressure and quick cancel window. This move is fairly similar to the same move used by Ryu and Ken, in that it sports two different hitboxes with unique properties, with Akuma's foot dealing more raw damage, while Akuma's leg will deal less damage in exchange for heavier shield pressure. And thanks to the fact that this move can cancel into any of Akuma's specials, it's an attack that has a plethora of options in Akuma's game plan. It's also possible to set up some dangerous frame traps if Akuma's player can condition his foe to block, but don't expect to be landing kills with this move alone, as its knockback growth is surprisingly limited for the amount of damage that it deals. Akuma's up air is his neutral jumping medium kick from Super Turbo and Street Fighter Alpha, with this upward straight kick knocking foes up into the air on hit, while sporting the ability to cancel into specials. This move is closer to the same attack used by Ken as opposed to Ryu, with this allowing Akuma to juggle foes and set up potentially dangerous combos if his opponent doesn't DI properly. But also like Ken, this move lacks any sort of intangibility, making it fairly easy to punish if his opponent can see it coming. Akuma's back air is his neutral jumping roundhouse from Super Turbo in the Alpha series, a very powerful reversal option that will have Akuma spin around in midair to attack behind him. This move is also shared by both Ryu and Ken, but as you might have come to expect, Akuma's version of this move will hit just a bit harder to show his notable jump and power. And on top of being one of Akuma's best aerial kill confirms, it's also a move that's special cancelable on hit, allowing Akuma's player to follow it up with an aerial Tatsu into Shoryu if they aren't confident that it will kill on its own. Akuma's down air is his jumping heavy punch from third strike, a short range but powerful all-purpose attack that will have Akuma perform a downward punch in front of himself. Similar to both Ryu and Ken, Akuma can use this to close out stocks and stop recoveries off stage, but thanks to its special cancel properties, it's arguably one of Akuma's best hit confirms, and a great way to lead into a kill confirm literally anywhere on the screen. Normally, that's all there is for a character's aerial kit in Smash, but Akuma actually has a secret aerial input that can only be used under specific conditions. If the player inputs and holds down forward plus attack during a forward jump, Akuma will utilize one of his most iconic command normals from Street Fighter, Tenma Kujinkiak. With this, Akuma will perform a dive kick through the air, damaging any foe in his path and dragging them down towards the ground with him, leaving them caught in hit stun and wide open to further punishment. This attack sports both great speed and damage, on top of a level of knockback that makes it very easy to follow up with other attacks, be it other normals or special moves. And while it might be classified as a fastful aerial, Akuma's recovery speed out of this move is notably fast, allowing him to perform air-to-ground conversions and condition his opponent to block, which, in turn, can lead to moves like down smash or Zagai Hitsatsu for a potential shield break. Akuma will grab his opponent with one arm, holding them tight in his unbreakable grip as he performs a close-range punch for his pummel, smashing his opponent's side in a style that's fairly close to that of Kazuya. For his throws, Akuma's options will deal some fairly solid damage, but in terms of purpose, they're less for confirming kills and more for repositioning than anything else. On top of that, Akuma's ability to approach is leagues above both Ryu and Ken, so throws are a fairly small part of his game plan. Akuma's forward throw is Goshoha, his regular throw from Street Fighter 4 and 5 that will have Akuma launch foes away with a palm thrust to their chest. This simple throw sports some solid damage and knockback, and at low to mid percents, the player can follow this up with aerials to potentially set up combos or an offstage spike, but once you pass a certain percent threshold, it will quickly lose its value amongst the majority of the cast. Akuma's up throw is Tenha, a command normal first introduced in Street Fighter 5 that will have Akuma perform an uppercut palm strike, launching foes upwards on hit. This quick yet simple throw sports a lot of the same strength as Akuma's forward throw, in that it can be used as a combo tool at low to mid percents, but instead of setting up offstage kills, it's instead best for aerial juggling with up air or setting up an early Akuma combo by comboing into aerial Tatsu. Akuma's back throw is Shuretsuzan, his second throw option in Street Fighter 5 that will have Akuma move his opponent behind him, all before delivering a powerful straight kick to launch the foe away. This throw's launch angle is very low to the ground, so low in fact that this throw can force opponents into a hard knockdown state at low to mid percents. This, in turn, can lead to tech chases and potential big damage off a poke into Tatsu, but for the most part, it's mainly used for repositioning or to set up an offstage scramble. Finally, Akuma's down throw is Shoredo, with this having Akuma force his opponent to the floor before performing a downward chop, with the force of this blow bouncing them into the air. While both Ryu and Ken also use this throw, Akuma is the original user of this attack, meaning it's finally back in proper hands. As for its purpose in a fight, Akuma is capable of either following up with aerials or mid-air Shoryu until mid-percents, but it's possible to extend this window if you choose to go with Demon Flip as a follow-up instead. It's now time to talk about Akuma's specials. And as you might have come to expect, all of Akuma's specials are based on his iconic special moves from the Street Fighter series. While some of these attacks might be similar to the tools used by both Ryu and Ken, the way that Akuma puts his own spin on these familiar attacks makes them all his own. And on top of this, Akuma will be bringing along his own unique tools that neither of his other Shoto contemporaries have access to, making him feel even more like his own character. For while there are plenty of Shotos, there is only one Akuma. Starting with his neutral special, Akuma sports two different attacks depending on whether he's on the ground or in the air, and while they might serve the same general purpose, their potential is notably different from one another, all while also changing the way that the player can approach both pressure and jump-ins. Go Hadouken and Zanku Hadouken. Starting with Go Hadouken, or Go Hado for short, this is Akuma's main grounded projectile and his own take on Ryu's iconic Fireball, with this having Akuma launch a purple tinted fireball forward once the player either taps the B button or inputs quarter circle forward plus attack. In comparison to the fireballs of Ryu and Ken, Go Hado will travel roughly the same distance as the others, but will do so in roughly a third of the time, allowing Akuma to immediately put pressure on foes from mid-range and follow up on buttons that might push foes out of the range of his other specials. While that's the case, however, Go Hado's damage is a bit weaker to compensate for its drastic boost in speed, but since this fireball's main purpose is to be less of a kill confirm and more of a way to stuff buttons and not let foes approach, the small damage reduction isn't going to take away from the versatility it offers Akuma when playing on the defensive. Also, if the player chooses to input the move instead of simply tapping B, Go Hado's damage and movement speed will be increased, with a heavy command input Go Hado's speed becoming one of the fastest projectiles in the game and, in turn, one of Akuma's strongest defensive tools. And whereas Ryu and Ken can only have one projectile on screen at once, Akuma instead has a limit of two, with this greatly improving his stage presence and allowing him to quickly rack up damage from a safe distance. As for Zanku Hadouken, this variation of the iconic fireball is a tool that only Akuma has access to, and while Akuma's grounded fireball is fairly strong, this attack would quickly go on to become one of Akuma's most notorious special moves. An attack so strong that it could shut down most anti-airs and make jumping in as Akuma quite safe. By tapping the B button or inputting core circle forward plus attack in the air, Akuma will quickly throw out a fireball with a single hand, and unlike the aerial Hadouken of Ryu and Ken, Akuma will launch this fireball at a downward angle, with this protecting Akuma's approach and completely throwing whatever knowledge your opponent thought they had out the window. From a safe landing option, to a strong edge guarding option, to arguably one of Akuma's strongest hit confirms if you can fast fall with it. Zanku is an all-purpose move that only grows in both strength and speed if you choose to input the attack manually. And if you manage to get the timing down, you might just be able to immediately cancel your short haul momentum into Fireball in order to link several fireballs together. It really is that strong of a tool, as its only real counters are reflectors and higher priority projectiles. But given the speed in which you can get this projectile on the screen, your opponent will need to be prepared for it at all times. Also, by holding either the B or attack button during this move's startup, Akuma will be able to briefly halt his aerial momentum while attacking, which can either throw off his opponent's momentum or potentially get him hit, as it gives his opponent a longer reaction window. So if you want to quickly fall while using this move, be sure to let go of the B button once the attack starts. Before we move on to his other specials, there's actually one last variation of Akuma's Fireball that I've yet to talk about. And while Ryu is also capable of using this attack, Akuma is the only character who uses it regularly past the days of Street Fighter II. A powerful multi-hit fireball that's known for its ability to crush range pressure and make his zoning all the more dangerous. Shakunetsu Hadouken. Performed by inputting half circle back plus attack, Akuma will take a moment to build up energy before launching a red fireball forward through the air, with it traveling at a speed just underneath his regular fireball, but, in turn, covering a larger range. And once the fireball makes contact with an opponent, it will deal 3 hits of damage before bursting apart and launching them away. In comparison to his regular fireballs, Shakunetsu, or red fireball as it's often dubbed, is arguably one of Akuma's strongest zoning options. It's on top of its solid damage, it sports a high high level priority, allowing it to either nullify or destroy a majority of projectiles it comes into contact with, save for fully charged energy projectiles or any sort of projectile that sports some piercing properties, such as lasers. It's also a tool that can be used on the screen at the same time as another fireball, allowing Akuma's player to throw out Shakunetsu before launching a Zanku Hadouken to pressure their foes from 2 different angles. And on top of that, this move's multi-hits can even allow Akuma to put some serious pressure on foes and block stun, as Shakunetsu and Dazugai Hatsatsu is more than enough to break most shields, should you condition your foe correctly. Also, yes, Shakunetsu Hadouken is usable in the air, much like Ryu, but it should be noted that Akuma can only use this move once in the air, so make sure you make it count. Moving on to his forward special, Akuma will make use of his iconic spin kick that can be used from anything from a kill confirm to one of Akuma's strongest combo starters. And in comparison to his other options, this is most likely going to be the one you're using the most, thanks in part to Akuma's combo structure, Tatsumaki Zankukyak. With this, Akuma will throw himself forward through the air while performing a spinning kick, much like Ryu and Ken, with this spinning kick growing in strength if the player chooses to manually input the attack. When compared to the other Shotos, Akuma's Tatsu can essentially be considered a middle ground between both Ryu and Ken, in that it sports a ton of damage, but becomes multi-hit at higher levels, making it hard to deal damage with, as opponents might be able to DI out of it at higher percents. While that's the case, however, Light Tatsu is most likely going to be your most used version of this move, as Light Tatsu is not only a major part of the Akuma combo, for a dangerous 1-2 punch that can be used to set up horizontal kills. With this being thanks to the fact that heavy command input Tatsu will sport completely different properties than Akuma's regular Tatsu, with its attack style being taken directly from Street Fighter 5 and 6, as Akuma will drag his opponent up into the air before kicking them away. Thanks to all of this, Tatsumaki Zanku is an all-around strong move with few weaknesses, as while it can be blocked, attempting to punish Akuma out of a light Tatsu might just end up getting you punished from a heavy input Shoryu. So unless you have an invincible reversal of your own, it might be safer to tank the Tatsu and punish Akuma once he wastes his follow-up. Now it's time to talk about Akuma's back special, an iconic attack that was first introduced into Akuma's kit in Street Fighter Alpha, and a highly versatile move that can be anything from a combo ender, to a combo extender, to even a dangerous kill confirm. Whatever your desire, this move can get it done. Demon Flip. With this, Akuma will perform an arcing jump through the air once the player inputs either back special or half circle forward plus attack, with both the height and distance Akuma jumps depending on the strength level of the move. And as long as the jump stays active, Akuma will be able to perform one of several follow-up attacks in order to initiate pressure or continue combos, with this special essentially granting Akuma the ability to jump cancel almost every single one of his normals. As for which follow-up Akuma will perform, that will depend on what his player inputs during the initial leap, as there are a total of 5 different follow-up options that your opponent will need to be prepared for at all times, as while they might lack range, their speed can easily catch poor positioning and begin a vortex of death. Starting with the first follow-up, this option is performed if the player fails to input another button during Demon Flip's active frames, as once Akuma comes into contact with the floor, he will perform a sliding kick to knock foes away. This attack will allow Akuma to punish overextension or potentially score a shield break on a conditioned opponent, as on top of auto-correcting to always face his opponent while attacking, the kick sports heavy shield pressure, so gatling down tilt into Demon Flip slide is more than enough to destroy most shields. While that's the case, however, the recovery speed of the slide kick is one of the slowest of Demon Flip's follow-up options, so if your opponent predicts the kick correctly, you might end up taking a ton of damage in return. As for Demon Flip's other follow-ups, these will all require command inputs in order to perform, with these being a palm strike by inputting neutral attack, a diving kick by inputting down plus attack, a powerful command grab by inputting grab, and finally, launching a fireball by inputting forward plus attack. All of these options serve unique purposes to Akuma's game plan, and while some are far more useful than others, it's best to learn them all so you're ready to use them once the situation arises. Starting with the palm strike, this move will have Akuma thrust his arm out to attack in front of himself, with his palm remaining active until he touches the ground. In terms of stats, this follow-up sports not only the quickest startup speed, but also some of the heaviest damage, allowing Akuma to immediately rack up percent if he cancels into Demon Flip from his normals. On top of that, this palm strike also sports a meteor smash effect, allowing Akuma's player to condition his foes into guaranteed spike combos if he manages to hit confirm them near the ledge. And if the ledge isn't anywhere in sight, extending combos off of floor bounces are more than possible here in Smash. Moving on to the dive kick, this follow-up is arguably the option that players are going to be using the most, as on top of covering a solid amount of range and coming out fast, this dive kick will drag Akuma's opponent down with him as he attacks, allowing his player to convert moves like up tilt or up air back into grounded tilts to greatly extend his combo game, if he doesn't flat out use it to bridge into Shoryu for a kill confirm. While that's the case, however, this move ends up... this move ends up spoiling both the worst shield pressure and recovery speed. of Demon Flip's follow-up options. So if your opponent can preemptively dodge or block the incoming kick, you might just end up getting heavily punished. Moving on to the Fireball, this follow-up option lacks the versatility of both the kick and the palm strike, but in turn, more than makes up for it in offensive potential. From putting pressure on foes while jumping in, to getting more projectiles on the screen at the same time, to simply just being a difficult button to contend with thanks to the speed of the Fireball, this attack is definitely going to be one of the most annoying tools that your opponent is going to need to deal with when fighting Akuma on the approach. Lastly, there's Demon Flip's Command Grab, with this having Akuma grab his opponent by the shoulders mid-leap, all before using his forward momentum to flip forward and launch the opponent away. This follow-up option is an interesting one. As well as by far the strongest follow-up option that Demon Flip has, it's also the most situational. As while Akuma can cover some solid horizontal range while flipping through the air, this grab's range is very small, and in turn, potentially difficult to land. This is also paired with a long cooldown to leave Akuma wide open if he whiffs the grab, and while this could potentially be bypassed depending on when the grab is performed, it's normally not worth risking. But when it works, oh boy does it ever work. With a successful command grab, Akuma is capable of killing most of the cast at the ledge at around 85 to 90%. And if you can catch your opponent off stage, you'll be able to drag them all the way down to the bomb blast zone, giving Akuma his own Akuma side. Moving on to his recovery special, Akuma will make use of his iconic uppercut that can be used as anything from a recovery tool, to a combo ender, to one of Akuma's strongest reversal options when he's in a pinch. Whatever the purpose, it's definitely not something your opponent will want to be on the receiving end of. Go Shoryuken! With this, Akuma will perform a rising uppercut into the air once the player either inputs up in special or DP plus attack, with the attack gaining both more damage and becoming multi-hit during heavier inputs. On top of that, this attack sports invulnerability during its startup frames, allowing Akuma to armor through incoming attacks and make his opponents think twice about pressuring him when he has his shield up. Thanks to all of this, Goshoryu is arguably Akuma's most reliable kill confirm, thanks especially to the amount of attacks that can combo into it. And while its multi-hit properties might lead to fears of DI ruining the move at higher percents, the first two hits of heavy Goshoryu actually vortex the opponent towards Akuma, making it much harder to break out of. While that's the case, however, Goshoryu's versatility as an offensive option is balanced out by its below average recovery potential, as unless you're right underneath the ledge, you're going to need to mix in Tatsu if you want to have a chance of making it back to the stage. It's also a move that's fairly easy to punish if the initial hit misses, so it's best to not use Goshoryu unless you either have a way to bridge into it or you can catch your opponent in the middle of an animation. Finally, for his down special, Akuma will make use of a versatile utility option that will allow the Raging Demon to check incoming buttons, throw off his opponent's momentum, and, if he manages to land a hit, start lengthy combos that can close out most character stocks at mid to high percents. Focus Attack. With this, Akuma will reel back before delivering a brutal palm thrust, with this attack growing in strength the longer the move is charged for, with a max charged focus attack forcing opponents into a crumple state and leaving them vulnerable to follow-up attacks. Overall, this move is nearly identical to the same move used by both Ryu and Ken, as Akuma also gains armor on charge, and is able to FADC out of this move by double tapping the control stick in a direction chosen by the player, with the only real difference between them being the animation that Akuma performs during the move, and the amount of damage focus attacks armor can sustain, with Akuma scoring a lower threshold to go in line with his glass can design. Next is the Final Smash, and much like Ryu and Ken, Akuma will be sporting two different Final Smashes, with the one you get depending on how close you are to your opponent when you perform it. From closing out combos in the most stylish way possible, from simply dealing big damage for the sake of big damage. These are Mitsatsu Go Hado and Kongo Kokuretsu-zan. Starting with Mitsatsu Go Hado, this Final Smash is the one Akuma will perform if there's some distance between him and his closest opponent. And once activated, Akuma will unleash a massive beam of purple energy, its horizontal range endless, as it rapidly damages any foe in its caught path, all before launching them away once the attack comes to a close. This version of Mitsatsu Go Hado is based on its iteration from the Versus series, much like Ken's Shinryuken, and while it's a fairly standard beam super, its incredible range makes it very difficult to outrun at close to mid-range. There's also no limit to the amount of opponents that Akuma can catch with this attack, making it a great option to use in multiplayer matches. As for Kongo Kokuretsu-zan, this Final Smash will only work if Akuma is fairly close to his opponent before activating his Final Smash. And once activated, Akuma will begin this Final Smash by raising his hand to the sky, dark energy swelling in his open palm before he grits his fist shut. At this point, Akuma will then perform a devastating punch into the ground below him, creating an enormous blast of energy and dealing very heavy damage to anyone lucky enough to be caught in its area of effect. Akuma will be fully armored during this move's startup, allowing him to use his attack to heavily punish over aggression, and much like Mitsatsu Go Hado, Akuma is capable of comboing into this attack off of several of his normals. Wait a second. Mitsatsu Gohado and Kongu Kokuretsu-zan? Is it just me, or does something feel like it's missing? Okay, I might have lied. Akuma doesn't have 2 Final Smashes, he actually has 3. And this new record for Final Smash options is closed out by what is often regarded as one of the most iconic super moves in fighting game history. A move with a legacy so great that it transcends Street Fighter altogether. While many have referenced it, and some characters might have even received their own variation of it, there's only one true user of this ability, and it's hard to imagine a playable Akuma without it. Shun Goku Satsu, or as it's better known as, the Raging Demon. By inputting A, forward A, then B, Akuma will take an offensive stance while uttering the iconic line that has become synonymous with the Raging Demon since the days of Street Fighter 4. At this point, Akuma will then rocket forward across the stage in a manner similar to a Shurasenko, his body completely intangible as he moves at a speed comparable to Marvel 3's Raging Demon. Should Akuma make contact with an opponent at this point, he will grab onto them before locking them into a cinematic Final Smash, the screen going dark as Akuma begins to unleash a series of rapid strikes against his opponent. Unable to do nothing but take the full brunt of Akuma's onslaught, the caught opponent's percent will rapidly increase, and should the opponent reach over 100% damage, their lifeless body will fall to the ground once the screen comes back into view, a flaming heaven mark glowing in the darkness behind Akuma as they're instantly KO'd. This version of Raging Demon brings together aspects of several Raging Demons to create what I feel is the best possible version for Smash. And while a cinematic on par with the Raging Demon of Street Fighter 6 is also a great option, sometimes simplicity is better. And should the player manage to win the match with this attack, the game will immediately jump to the results screen as Akuma stands with his back to the camera, all while insulting his foe. No game, no Akuma wins, all you get is an empty win screen to reference the fact that the Raging Demon doesn't get a KO splash screen in Street Fighter 4. For his victory theme, Akuma will share the same theme as both Ryu and Ken, which is the match completion theme from Street Fighter 2. While it might be just a bit too heroic for a character like Akuma, there sadly isn't many other options to choose from. Victory animation number 1 will have Akuma perform his victory animation from Street Fighter 4, with this having Akuma raise his hand into the air before slamming it into the ground, mimicking the same animation that Akuma uses to perform Kongu Kokuretsu-zan. Akuma also performs a variation of this animation during his victory animation in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but unlike said game, Akuma will not actually perform the move during this animation. Victory animation number 2 will have Akuma perform his victory animation from Street Fighter 6, with this having Akuma bend down to pick up his opponent's lifeless body and examine their condition. When he quickly discovers that there's no fight left in them, he'll drop them to the ground and walk away, saying that he is not yet sated. Should Akuma be fighting multiple opponents at once, he'll always examine the last opponent he KO'd before winning. Finally, victory animation number 3 will have Akuma turn his back to the camera, all while his iconic heaven symbol appears on his back. This is Akuma's most iconic victory animation, and while simple, it's an imposing image that just looks really cool. That, and you could potentially pair with Yoshi's victory animation to make the perfect doubles victory screen. Finally, the jokes of Yoshi doing the Akuma pose come full circle. Taunt number 1 will have Akuma perform his standard taunt from a majority of his appearances, with this having Akuma slam his foot into the ground as his body releases waves of energy. While this taunt is normally just a cool looking visual in most of Akuma's appearances, this version of the taunt will take a few notes from its appearance in Street Fighter 5, as should any opponent be too close to Akuma when he brings his foot down, they will take some considerable damage and be launched away with heavy force. It also spikes foes if they're airborne, so you might be able to close out stocks near the ledge if you time it correctly. Taunt number 2 will have Akuma perform his standard taunt from Street Fighter 6, with this having Akuma focus his energy before striking a menacing pose, all while telling his opponent to witness the abyss before them. This taunt is simple in nature and is just cool for the sake of looking cool, with it sporing no additional damage like Ki, but it should be noted that Akuma is capable of cancelling this taunt early, so it is possible to use this as bait before setting your foe flying with an Akuma combo. combo. Finally, taunt number 3 will have Akuma perform a standard taunt from Street Fighter V, with this having Akuma mockingly call his opponent an insect before punching the ground below him in frustration. This is the second of Akuma's taunts that features an active hitbox, with the punch dealing a decent chunk of damage and launching foes vertically on hit. But unlike Ki, this punch will only hit opponents that are grounded, so unless you manage to break your opponent's shield, it's best to not use this for any sort of offensive push. For his colors, Akuma's options will mainly make reference to the various color options that Akuma has had access to throughout the Street Fighter series, which is a nice contrast to Ryu and Ken, mainly using their color options from Street Fighter 2. While that's the case, however, a decent chunk of them will be coming from Third Strike. Color number 1 is Akuma's standard appearance, with his black gi and blood red hair being based on his standard appearance from Third Strike. As an added bonus, Akuma's hair will also have strands of white in it, much like he's shown to have in Third Strike, and these strands will also change to different colors should his player choose a different color option. Color number 2 will dye Akuma's gi a deep blue, with this appearance being a reference to the basic color scheme that Akuma would adopt during the days of Street Fighter 4 and 5. This also happens to be fairly close to one of the optional colors that Akuma can choose in Third Strike, but it's mainly a reference to the two aforementioned titles. Color number 3 will dye Akuma's gi a bright red while his hair stays the same color, with this being a reference to one of Akuma's secondary colors from the Street Fighter Alpha series. Color number 4 will dye Akuma's gi a snow white, while his hair is changed to a jet black with red strands, with this being a reference to a color option that Akuma has used in several games throughout the series, although this one in particular is a reference to its appearance in Street Fighter 6. Color number 5 will dye Akuma's gi a smoke gray, while his hair is changed to a snow white, with this referencing one of his secondary colors from Third Strike. Color number 6 will dye Akuma's gi a muted olive green, while darkening the red in his hair to a deep maroon, with this being yet another one of Akuma's secondary colors from Third Strike. Color number 7 will dye Akuma's gi a muted yellow, while lightening the color of his skin, with this once again referencing one of his color options from Street Fighter Alpha 2. Finally, color number 8 will dye Akuma's gi a bright purple, all while his hair is changed to a brighter shade of red. This is a reference to the colors of Shin Akuma, a boss form of Akuma that was first introduced into the series in Street Fighter Alpha 2. When it comes to discussing characters I really like getting into Smash Bros., there are very few characters I'd like to see playable more than that of Akuma. Seeing as he's not only one of my top 5 favorite Capcom characters, but in my top 5 favorite fighting game characters of all time, Akuma is a character that I'm always excited to see get announced for whatever game he shows up in. And knowing his history as a crossover character, and as an icon for Capcom in general, I don't think I need to explain why I feel he more than deserves a chance to be a part of a video game celebration like Smash Bros. Despite all this, however, I'm sure some of you are curious as to why I don't ever talk about wanting Akuma in Smash Bros. And to answer that question, that's because I don't know what to expect from Street Fighter and Smash going forward, and as a result, Akuma is in a very odd position for me. With the release of Smash Ultimate, we got Ken as an Echo Fighter for Ryu, and next to no further representation from Street Fighter. And thanks to this, there were a couple of major aspects missing from the series that I feel they should put into Smash before they decide to include Akuma, and chief among them is Chun-Li. Seeing as how Ryu and Chun-Li are nigh inseparable when including crossovers nowadays, the fact that Chun-Li not only didn't get into Ultimate's base roster, but was completely skipped for DLC is odd to me. As seeing as Chun-Li is such an important part of not only Street Fighter, but fighting game history in general, I feel she's far more likely to get into Smash before Akuma. On top of that, including Akuma at this point would result in 3 playable Shotos, and while Akuma has the potential to play next to nothing like either Ryu or Ken, I don't know if the dev team would be willing to triple down on 3 characters with roughly the same toolset, especially if they aren't from Fire Emblem. Thanks to all of this, I have no idea what to think about Akuma's inclusion in Smash, as while he's definitely iconic enough to fit right in with the rest of the cast, the way that Sakurai has chosen to go about representing Street Fighter is very archaic and behind the times. For now, I say let's just try to get Chun-Li into the series before we start worrying about Akuma, but knowing the demon's track record for being a hot DLC commodity, I wouldn't be surprised if Akuma ended up being a DLC character for Smash 6. I'd certainly buy him, but I don't know if I'm ready to deal with Smash kids calling him Ryu 3. If you like what you saw, be sure to like and comment. And to keep up to date on what's coming next, follow me on Twitter and join my Discord. You'll also be able to join on events such as Cleared for Battle, where you can have your movesets reviewed on the first Saturday of each month. But if you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, becoming a channel member will provide you with sneak peeks of upcoming projects before they launch, as well as supporting my Patreon, which not only lets me produce higher quality content, but will also allow you to vote for upcoming content and receive a variety of assets weeks before they become available to the public. That's all from me for now, so until the next time I see you, I've been Felicia Fan, and I hope that you have a good one.